Hey guys, Bass Addict and Opticast Pro staff Matt Kalzewski. So the last video we uploaded, the scent fusion spoons, we talked about triggering strikes through the sense of smell. If you guys haven't seen it, you can click back. It's Bass Addict, scent fusion spoons. The scent fusion spoons are actually something that our buddies at Opticast manufactured. If you want more information on them, just click back on that video. This is what we're working with. They're primarily for ice fishing scenarios, but you can also use them in a vertical jigging type situation. We saw that a lot actually during that first Elite Series tournament. With that said, we talked about triggering strikes with scent last time. This time we're going to talk about sight, which is typically how predatory fish forage is through sight. But we're going to talk more particularly about color. Now, there's tons of adages and old sayings or whatever, about color selection when it comes to your presentation. When it's clear out, sunny day, use something that's translucent or something that's a little more natural, gold, silver shine. Or when it's an overcast, cloudy day, use something that's dark, black, blue, something that's a little more opaque, that's going to have higher contrast resolution. And although that might be true, we're going to explain why. We're actually going to science the shit out of this. So first, you got to understand light. We know that light is something that changes from day to day, and each time out on the water, the amount of light available in the water is different. If we go back to grade school science class, when we shine a beam of light through a prism, it creates the color spectrum. One side reds, Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, black, right? And somewhere in that kind of red spectrum, that's where white kind of stands. Now, if we remember that color spectrum, if we add those colors get absorbed into water at different rates. Each color has its own wavelength, reds being a little bit longer wavelengths, whereas you go down to the other side of the spectrum, the blue, indigo, violet, blacks, they have much shorter wavelengths. So water actually absorbs those different color wavelengths at different rates. If we take that color spectrum, I got a little, actually this is kind of a little, I don't like showing people this, but I actually keep my own color notes, just some literature to help me when the bite's a little tough, or when I'm kind of scratching and clawing for any kind of anything that'll give me an edge, or help me get me out of a jam in a tough day. I'll reference this a lot, but here's kind of like a little diagram of your color spectrum. And if we imagine that color spectrum and just turn it on a vertical plane, that color spectrum dissipates, or the water rather absorbs those colors at a different rate. So in an example where it's really bright out, we have a lot of light available to us in a clear water situation, you're going to see that whole spectrum of color pretty deep into the water column. Now, in a cloudier day, the first colors to go are going to be your reds, your browns, your oranges, and then kind of creeping into your yellows, your whites too. And it's not that they disappear in the water, but what happens is they become a tone of gray. And color, a lot of people, fish can't see color. Yeah, no. We know through biological studies that bass have the cone and rod cells in their eyes that give them the ability to see color. However, we've never been in the eyes of a bass, so we don't know exactly what colors they see or how they perceive red, for example. But what we do know is if they have that ability, they can see contrast. Contrast is the key. And what is contrast? Well, of course, contrast is complementary colors are kind of the highest contrast examples that we have. So white, for example, white and black, high contrast between the two, right? If you actually mix white and black together, you get a gray tone. People know that. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite of each other on the actual color wheel. Those are also at highest contrast, and theoretically, when you mix those two colors, you get a tone of gray. So we go back to my little special literature and we look at the color wheel, for example, high contrasting colors opposite of the color wheel from each other, red, green, or purple, yellow, blue and orange. Those types of colors are high in contrast, so it's really easy for, no matter whether it be a color seeing animal or human or one that doesn't, you can always see contrast between colors when they're up next against each other. For example, red and blue, right? That's how we may see red and blue. There's high contrast. We can definitely tell the difference between blue and red. That's an example of how a bass may see blue and red. You can clearly pick out the distinction between blue and red due to their contrast, even though the colors that are actually perceived may not be exactly the way we perceive them. So, the reason why contrast is important. If we have all kinds of gray tones, right? Let's say it's a cloudy day, and let's say there's a little bit of chop on the water, right? That red light, that orange light, that's going to get absorbed really quick as it penetrates through that water column. So that red presentation is actually going to look gray much faster. And if you've got, let's say, a craw type bait, I got a good example of that right here. It's got that orange and that brown natural craw look to it. This is just going to look like more of a blob of gray as you pass a couple feet into the water. So it might not stand out as much and might not be as high contrast relative to the background water that those fish are going to see. So essentially, and the other thing to consider too is water works vertically as it does horizontally. So if a fish is, say, 10 feet away from your bait, and orange and brown are disappearing, say, 3-4 feet into the water column on a cloud day with a little chop, that bass at that same 4-foot distance horizontally is not going to be able to see the color either. So day like that where it's a little murky, a little choppy, a little overcast skies, this is probably going to stay in my box. I might reach for something that's going to stay a little more visible because there's less light available, something like chartreuse or something with a hard black, contrasting line, a little easier for fish to see. And because that bait's going to hold its color deeper down into the water column, it's going to be easier for that fish to identify that as food because it'll see the color contrast relative to the background. So with that being said, do your own research. There's tons of YouTube videos out there that explain it a little bit better than I do, with better illustrations, but it's definitely something that can help you guys put more meat on the deck and optimize every cast moving forward.